Hey there, I'm Amanda Wares, your host, and I have with me today Melanie Willis, our co-host. Hey, Melanie.
Hi.
And today this is part 2 of our music and homeschooling. And to start off this episode, we are going to listen to the rest of my interview with Dr. Jean, the Dean of Music from Meredith College. And we had a fabulous conversation. If you missed part 1, make sure you go back and catch it because it's really good, really interesting, lots of information. So let's check out part 2. Okay, so somebody has a musically inclined student. They want to major in music in college. What advice would you give them? And I know, scholarships, or what is the process? Yeah.
Okay. First thing I would look, go look at different web pages for different music schools around. And when you think you've got one that your student is interested in, see if you can, number one, really essential, make a visit to the campus. And you can do that junior year too. You don't have to wait till senior year. Get a sample lesson. One of the things in music is you're going to spend a lot of time one-on-one with your primary applied teacher or teachers. So you want to make sure it's a good fit. You want to make sure it's a person. Don't end up like me. I ended up at one point for 1.5 years with a teacher who told me every lesson I was stupid, saying like, and should be selling shoes. You don't want that atmosphere. It was not a good fit. So what you're looking for is a teacher that the student clicks with, feels comfortable with, trusts. And make a visit, like we have the music major for a day, where a student can come in and spend the day here. They'll go to a class, they'll get a sample lesson, they'll get to have lunch with some of the students, talk to the students who are in the program, because the faculty are going to sell the program for you, but the students are going to tell you the truth about their experiences. And for homeschool students, I would say also talk to some of the homeschool students who are in that program. We have several homeschool students here that if we know we have a homeschool student coming in who's interested, we'll make sure to connect them, get them out to lunch with that person so they can talk about that experience. Again, auditions are important. Scholarships. When you contact a college, contact the scholarship office, but also contact the music department. We have a lot of music scholarships that admissions doesn't necessarily know all that much about. The other thing we have, and I think there are other schools that have, we have a program called Senior Scholars, which is if you're a student who's thinking you might want to major in music, you can actually register for credit, get college credit for classes at Meredith. And you don't have to matriculate to Meredith. You may decide at the end of your Senior Scholars experience, no, I want to go to a bigger school or something like that. Although I think all of our Senior Scholars who came not intending to come here have ended up coming here. But that's a great way to get a feel for what a music major is, because it is a bit different from any other major. Other majors, you look at their schedule and they have 3 classes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2 classes, Tuesday, Thursday. Music major schedule packed, very, very different. Which also reminds me of another thing that you might, I was going to say, if a senior scholar does end up matriculating to Meredith, any tuition that they paid as a senior scholar is deducted from their first year tuition as a student at Meredith, which is handy. So it's kind of a no loss thing. The other thing I would recommend is one of the things that students struggle with the most when they get to college. Less homeschool students than public school students, but in high school, you go to school, you have class, you go home. In college, time management is really essential. So working with your homeschool students on how do I structure my day? Okay, I only have 2 classes on Tuesday, Thursday, but I have a whole bunch of other things that I need to get done on those days. So instead of going, woohoo, I can leave campus, working on that time management would be really important. Yeah. And again, I go back to piano lessons are very, very important. If you have a child who wants to major in music, even if they are going to major in tuba, piano is really important because it teaches you to read both of the clefs. Tuba, you're only going to read the bass clef, but it
Right.
teaches you both of the clefs, and it gives you a jump start on your music theory. Yeah. And involves your whole brain.
I was going to ask you about that. I'm going to skip down to that. While we're talking about piano lessons, you mentioned you think every child should have piano lessons. So
Yes.
I've heard that before. Do you think that every student, whether they're super musically gifted or not, that they should have some kind of music education?
I do. I really, really do. For one thing, sometimes they don't know if they're musically gifted. You get the I can't hold a tune in a bucket, and then I'm like, oh yeah, you can, or something like that. But the whole brain aspect of music is really, it's a language. It's a whole human experience. Like I said, it's a language. It teaches empathy. It teaches collaboration. It teaches analytical thinking. When you're working music, you are mathematically thinking all the time. Commutations, permutations, all of those. And so it's a whole brain activity. And even if they decide they don't want to go on in music, like I'm one of 5 siblings, and I'm the only one who went on in music, but all 5 of us took piano lessons and another instrument, and valued that to the point that, my one brother who just completely dropped music after 9th grade, but he made sure all of his kids had piano lessons because he said it really benefited him.
Yes.
It's a whole brain activity.
That's so good. And like you said, it does apply to other things.
Absolutely.
Learning those things. It applies to other subjects. It applies to other things that they'll go on and see. That is great.
Yeah.
That's such good advice.
It's patterns, it's analysis.
Yeah.
And physical.
Wow. Oh, that's right. Yes. I know that I have 2 boys and 2 girls. And sometimes I think people, maybe parents, tend to say, oh, well, the girls, they're artsy or they're musical or whatever. But my boys, I really found that music lessons helped them a lot. Like when they're wild or, they have so much energy, the music really helped them, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So
And
I think that's great advice.
My oldest brother, I always knew when he'd had a bad day because he'd sit down at the piano and just let go. And, he'd walk away from that just feeling that much better. Yeah. Don't discount your boys.
Absolutely. That's so good. All right. So I hear this all the time from parents. They are so curious about how homeschool students perform in the university setting, especially people that are, thinking about homeschooling, or they're new, or they have, small children. They're always worried, can homeschool kids go to college? Can they be successful? So I'd love to hear about your experience with your homeschool students in the university setting. And are there any things you see? Maybe you mentioned time management. Is there anything else that parents could be working on with their homeschool students to kind of help them succeed and thrive in the university setting?
Yeah. I was thinking through, I've had probably 30 homeschool students in my teaching, and all but 1 or 2 of them were really, really, really successful. One of the things that I think I would urge parents to really, really strongly consider is letting their child live on campus. It feels really, really scary. And I'm thinking of one student who was so talented and so dedicated and everything, but she was still living at home. She was still was not able to separate that home structure, life, schedule and everything from college. And there's one of the biggest benefits of living on campus is learning how to live and work and play with a whole variety of people, and learning how to navigate relationships both positive and not so positive. You know, we run into that toxic person, or we run into that person whose viewpoints differ radically from ours, and learning how to navigate that and how to either come to understanding with those other viewpoints, which doesn't necessarily mean you have to accept all the other viewpoints, but also learning how to set that boundary where you say, we are clearly not going to agree on this. And so we can either agree to disagree, or we can just not have a relationship together, not have to, I may have to work beside you, but I don't have to be friends with you. There's a lot. And then, especially in music, there are so many activities after hours in music that living at home can be difficult, because you're leaving after rehearsal at 10 o'clock at night, or you're having to come in early, Saturdays or something like that. So I would say that would, but I would say out of the, probably I could list about 30 to 32 homeschool students I've had, they've been very, very successful. As a matter of fact, many of them are the ones who are busting the curve in classes.
I love that.
Because they are so used to, I find there's a lot of really good instruction going on in the home. Especially in just the discipline of doing the work and everything. And also getting outside of the standard curriculum a little bit. Right now we have three homeschool students in our music department, and they are, like I said, they're setting a high standard. I love it.
That's so good to hear. Yes. Well, do you have any final thoughts or anything I didn't mention or cover that you'd like to share?
Remember that your child is going to have to work in a field for probably, I don't know, nowadays it's like 45 years. They need to make it something they love. It's why I'm still doing it. And I keep saying I'm going to retire, and I'm still not. I'm still loving what I do. So the biggest word of advice that I give whenever parents and students come is, these are about your child's dreams, not your dreams for them. Not our dreams for them. They need to be able to pursue their dreams, and they may change their major once they get to school, and that's fine. The 4 years of undergraduate college are years of exploration and years of discovery. So be flexible. Support them in whatever they say they want to do, even if you're thinking, you don't have what it takes, because they might surprise you, but they might also decide they get into it. And frequently we have students we have one who came in this fall, and by November she said, I've decided I need to do the Bachelor of Music Education degree instead of performance, because that's where she took a couple of classes and realized. So my biggest word of advice for parents is, what they say they want to do, let them go. My father used to say the worst thing in the world is to get to be, 65 or 70, sitting in your rocking chair going, I wish I had, I should have, I wonder if I could have. Now's the time to do that.
That is wonderful advice. And so I think that you guys are going to be in our college fair at Thrive again. Is that the plan? Okay.
Yes.
So families can come on May 23rd and May 23rd. Yes, that's correct. Yes. Friday, May 23rd of the Thrive Conference to the college fair, and they can meet you guys, talk about Meredith, talk about music, all of that. So
music in general.
That's a great opportunity. Thank you so much for talking to me today and sharing all that you have. It's fascinating. I love it. All right. So what do you think of that, Melanie?
That was really wonderful. I enjoyed that, and just thinking so much again about, my time in college studying music, and I really enjoyed listening to that and reminiscing. And I loved her talking about how we need to do things that we enjoy doing. And you and I have talked about that before. You know, we're going to spend how many years in a career. Let's make it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've said multiple times on this show that is one of the beauties of homeschooling, that our kids, you know, if they have something that they love or not, I mean, they have the opportunity to discover what they are passionate about or what they love to do. And they can, you know, kind of explore different things and really see what it is that they really love or are passionate about. I think that's just so amazing.
And I think we get that opportunity so much more because of the time factor with homeschooling. You know, you've got so much more time, and you can spend more time studying the things that they enjoy or just learning about it, or, you know, use those extra hours of the day building or whatever it is that they're interested in. And sometimes that's music. There's always music happening here in my house. Here, I'm staring at a piano right now. The downstairs is full of every type of musical instrument that you can imagine, from banjos to ukuleles and drums. So
Absolutely.
they've spent a lot of time playing that music and being able to work on that they probably couldn't get if they were in another school setting where they had to come home and do lots of homework and didn't have that time they could dedicate to the things that they enjoy and love. And, you know, right now, my middle son is actually in Clemens practicing for a play that he's going to be doing this weekend. And that's where he's able to spend his time. So it's good to have things you enjoy. And
absolutely.
She also mentioned in that doing something that we enjoy, as when it's in reference to your kids, really finding what it is that they enjoy, that it's not us pushing what we think they should enjoy on them. And that was a really good part of what she talked about.
A little tidbit, a little teaser for next week. We're going to continue this conversation about music and homeschool, because whenever we started thinking about this, there were so many ideas and just so many different neat people to talk to about it. So next week, we'll be talking to a homeschool graduate who is also now a homeschool mom and was a music major as well in college, and as well as her daughter, who now has graduated from her homeschool and is a music major herself. So super fun. I can't wait to hear that conversation as well.
I look forward to that. And so as we grow closer to the Thrive Conference, Amanda, can you tell us what's new on the horizon with that right now?
Yeah, so we try to focus on different populations within the homeschool community. So if you go to nche.com/thrive and you click on workshop schedule. So this gets a little tricky sometimes. There's the general schedule and then the workshop schedule. When you click on workshop schedule, that's hard to say today, there is a key, and all the different populations within homeschooling has a different letter, and every workshop is labeled. So if you are just getting started or even thinking about homeschooling, they're labeled letter B. If you're homeschooling kids with any kind of special needs, those are labeled with an L. And what is really wonderful, this time, I'm so excited, for maybe the first time, maybe the second time, one of our featured speakers that's what she does. She speaks on and encourages families who are homeschooling kids with special needs. And I am so excited to have her as a featured speaker. And then we also, every single session of the conference, we have at least one workshop focused on homeschooling kids with special needs. So whether that's you, whether you have young elementary or preschool kids, there's workshops for you. If you have middle school, workshops for you. High school, workshops for you. So there's really moms, dads, there's a focus for everybody. So yeah, check that out. And I hope it'll make you excited to register and come to Thrive.
That particular form online, I always print out ahead of time because it lists all the workshops and has great descriptions. And I can look at them and read through and know what each one of my children should go look or what my husband needs to go to. And I have those highlighted before I ever get to the conference because you get there and there's a lot going on. So it's nice to know ahead of time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Do we have any news this week?
Yes, so we have 2 field trips coming up. We have one April 25th to the North Carolina Transportation Museum for that Tractors and Trains Day that we talked about in detail last week. And so you can go online now to nche.com and get those tickets under the activities and field trip section. And then on May 6th, the Durham Bulls are hosting an education day. And so there will be all kind of learning and activity stations set up on the concourse all day long. And there you can stop at any of those and learn. There's stuff from the science museums and all kind of things there. And they are also going to provide you with lesson plans that are created by the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And I thought that was a great little thing, that they're going to give you some lesson plans. I think that's fantastic. There will also be lunch provided. I believe that's a hot dog. And if you don't want hot dogs, they have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And so the game that day will take place, I think, around 11. The gates open at 9:30, so you can get time. You can go in and do all those learning activities and stations before watching the game. And again, you can register online at nche.com, activities and field trips, and we will have links below so that you can just click on and go straight to those activities. And that's all I have for you today.
Fabulous. I love that. We talk a lot about learning on location. That's a perfect learning on location. Get out of the 4 walls, That's so wonderful. All right. As always, guys, you can help us out by liking and subscribing either on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts. Also, share with your friends. This is the best way to grow our little show. Share with your friends. Word of mouth. That's the best way. And then, as always, if you have any questions or comments or feedback or ideas for the show, this series of shows came about because somebody emailed us with an idea. So please get in touch with us. You can always reach us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. All right, until next time, keep homeschooling with confidence and joy.